Alrighty then. It is Thursday. Later today, Susie will be singing. Earlier today, I will be going out to OsteoStrong to go ahead and push and pull and see how my body is doing in terms of strength for the day and intensifying bone development, because that's the whole purpose of going to OsteoStrong. Talked to a client the other day, thanks to having sent out an email, which some of you may have received. Would this be a good time to schedule a 20-minute Ask Me Anything meeting? I had a couple calls from clients, one of whom is approaching retirement age. In fact, he has already shut down 2 of his companies, but still stays busy doing what he's doing with the National Hockey League, since he is a lifetime hockey guy. Used to play hockey, used to referee hockey. After getting hit in the head with a puck one time too many, has still played somewhere, and he still walks and talks and does all kinds of things and does a wonderful job doing it. Curiosity they had, and curiosity most people have when they hit retirement time, gee willikers, how are we going to pay our bills? This is like the most popular question that anybody has. How do you answer that question? Thank you for asking it. There's some mathematical formulas that we've used for many years projecting what rates of return can be, what inflation might be, what your expenses are, what your resources are, how to properly position those resources to see what in the world you can do to pay your bills on a regular basis. Just as important as that, from a long-term planning point of view, is once you stop working for money, how will you engage in your life and still enjoy it and still stay mentally and physically active, that you actually enjoy being alive as opposed to just kind of enduring being alive. Some helpful hints. Just showed you some of our plants. I've always enjoyed growing herbs. And if you're of Italian background, basil is really handy because you put basil leaves in your sauce, particularly if it's Southern Italian cooking. And God bless America, I'm 94.5% Southern Italian by genetics. Therefore, I grow things that people from that part of the world grow. And we're looking forward to someday, sooner rather than later, seeing some of the southern parts of Italy to see how people are doing. But again, let's get back to retirement questions. Number 1, what are your spending habits? Number 2, what kind of resources have you accumulated? That could be, in this country, Social Security or a pension or a combination of both. It could be assets like an IRA, which is an individual retirement account. It could also be a 401k. It can be a 403b, and a lot of other alphabet soups, basically tax-deferred savings. If you have those, we can then do a projection in terms of what kind of returns based on your time frame, risk tolerance, experience, beliefs, prejudices, and the like. As most folks have set up patterns by the time we get to be of a certain age, which either really help us a great deal or absolutely, positively, are you kidding, handicap us like crazy because they have not been productive. Oh, happily, the pool was even a couple days ago. This pool, 70 degrees, son of a gun, it's more like about 78 degrees. I'm not exactly sure how that happened. It must be because summer is kind of sort of starting here in Texas. So you do some calculations. It's very popularly held that if you take 3 or 4% of your assets a year out of your pool of investments, that pool of investments can last for a certain period of time. I do remember going to a workshop years ago where a guy and his team had gone back with actuaries and literally, not figuratively, but literally, took 30-year periods for 127 years. In other words, each year projecting what the 30 years in terms of broad range of stocks have done, investments have done. And then gave a range between how much you could take out in good years, bad years, and middling years. Let's define those terms, because for a financial type, a bad year normally means that G, a famous retailer, let's just think of Bed Bath & Beyond, for instance, went into a situation where their sales are not doing what they're doing, they're not really covering their costs, and they file for bankruptcy. And they might even drift over into liquidation in terms of that, where suddenly a whole chain of stores, boom, is gone. This has happened to any number of stores in our lifetime, in your lifetime as well. So, one, figure out what your lifestyle is and your beliefs are. And if you're a person like me that from an early age exercising this, that, and the other thing, is very active and blessed with decent health and relatively decent food habits, meaning you eat proper food, you exercise regularly, you stress your body so that it can respond to what's going on around it, you can reach your 60s and 70s and 80s and 90s and so forth and still be relatively healthy till the good Lord calls you home. For other people who during COVID got really stressed, commonly we get really stressed, your body has a bad habit of storing fat for fear that you're being attacked. If you're in that flight or fight mode, your body retains fat. Again, for fear of not surviving. Your brain wants you to survive. Your mind wants you to survive. That being the case, it's a problem when it comes to weight management for some people. For other people, they're just naturally slender, and how lucky for them. I know a few of those, and we all hate them, but that's another story. So health is of some concern. Why do I say that out loud? Let's say you're in failing health and you just hit your 60s and you have plenty of money. It's really not going to worry much about how you're going to pay your bills because you're not going to be here that long. You could worry about how other people that survive you will be paying their bills, and to see how much your medical opportunities for coping have actually absorbed. So your health, wealth, and wisdom have impacts on your ability to actually retire and actually enjoy it. When I say retire, I use that term figuratively. Not a fan of it personally, but for a lot of folks, the demands of their profession, whether it's being a geologist, being out in the field, or being on the shop floor designing things and getting things produced in an odd time for the supply line, or running restaurants or a chain of restaurants, or some other high-stress physical job, eventually your body can't do that. You could migrate into supervisory tasks if you have that ability and inclination or not. So 1, what's your lifestyle? 2, what's your health? 3, do we have enough money to pay for a reasonable lifestyle over time? And that's very calculatable. So if you have an interest in exploring that further, I can happily roll that out for you. Make no mistake about that. I ask for you, though, is to, if at all humanly possible, get as healthy as you can, as wise as you can, study, listen, learn, and most importantly, apply what you've learned. Learning is great fun. I love doing it. Trying to learn how to speak Italian, playing around with a piano keyboard, learning how to continue to read music and play the music, and enjoy the sheer joy of the sound of wonderfully composed compositions. Also, personally, I really enjoy growing things, and every morning I have my own personal organic salad, since I can just pick the basil and pick the lettuce and pick the tomatoes and actually munch on them along with the lovely mint. We're also growing some more basil and some more oregano in what used to be a flower garden, since the flowers just flat didn't come back. So again, how am I going to pay my bills? It's dollars to donuts. You've been paying your bills all your life. You've depended on your income. Hopefully you've learned to spend less money than you make so that you can actually have some accumulation. Or perhaps you built up a pension. Or perhaps you have a lifestyle which can be sustained by the cash flow that you already have from your investments. This is John Checky, co-founder of Checky Financial, wishing you a happy, healthy, productive, in-service, joyous Thursday.